You can own the strongest ship, with the finest crew and the most perfect sails, but if you never dare to set a course, if you never raise the sails and leave the shore, that ship will drift endlessly in the open sea. Life works the same way. So many of us have dreams, talents, and burning ambitions, yet we fail to act. We stand on the shore, watching the waves, saying, "One day, I'll set sail," but one day is an island that doesn't exist. Do you know what separates those who succeed from those who only dream of success? It's not intelligence, it's not opportunity, it's the will to act. Because knowledge doesn't change your life, action does. There is a force within every human being, a source of power that most of us have never truly tapped into, the strength to push ourselves forward, the power to make ourselves do what must be done, even when the mind wants to delay and the heart wants to rest. Success doesn't belong to the most talented, it belongs to those who keep moving when others stop. Action is the foundational key to all success. Today, we'll explore the art of taking action, how to turn motivation into discipline, ideas into results, and dreams into reality. Part 1. The power of self-discipline. Discipline is the silent engine behind every success. It's not loud, not flashy, and it doesn't need an audience, yet it's the very fire that keeps your journey alive when every other source of motivation burns out. Discipline is the ability to make yourself do what must be done, even when you don't feel like it, even when there's no excitement and no applause. It's the rare power that truly successful people always possess. You can be intelligent, talented, and passionate, but without discipline, all of that remains wasted potential. Discipline is the bridge between goals and achievement, between I want to and I did it. It isn't self-punishment. It's the highest form of freedom, because the disciplined person is the one who has mastered themselves. Think of a cold morning when your warm bed calls you to stay, but your goals call you to rise. The undisciplined choose temporary comfort. The disciplined choose long-term growth. That's the difference between dreamers and achievers. Self-discipline is not only an action, it's a state of mind. It's a quiet commitment to yourself. I will do what needs to be done, even when no one is watching. And it's in those silent moments, when you work, study, and train alone, that the foundation of greatness is built. The undisciplined live by emotion. They work when inspired and quit when tired. The disciplined live by principle. They act for their goals, not their moods. Emotions are waves, but discipline is the ship, and only the ship will carry you to the shore of success. Discipline offers rewards that nothing else can replace. First, it brings inner peace, that precious sense of knowing you're in control of your life instead of letting life control you. It brings confidence, because every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen the belief that I can. And above all, it brings self-respect, because you prove to yourself that you are reliable, at least to the person who matters most to you. Disciplined people don't need to prove themselves to the world. They don't boast about results. They don't talk endlessly about plans. They simply work day after day in silence until their results speak for them. That's the power of consistency, the strength of small, repeated actions done with persistence. Self-discipline isn't easy. There will be days you feel drained, exhausted, discouraged, days when you doubt yourself and wonder if it's all worth it. In those moments, discipline becomes your guiding light. Motivation may fade, emotions may shift, but discipline endures a compass that always points you back to the right path. Don't misunderstand, discipline isn't rigidity. It's not self-torture or working yourself into exhaustion. True discipline is harmony between will and action, between intellect and emotion. It's the ability to choose wisely between what you want now and what you want most. You see, most people don't fail because of a lack of opportunity. They fail because they can't stay disciplined long enough to turn opportunity into results. They start with enthusiasm, but stop at the first obstacle. Meanwhile, the disciplined don't chase perfection, they simply refuse to quit. They know great results come from small actions repeated every day. Discipline is the difference between living by desire and living by purpose. When you are disciplined, you control your time, your emotions, and your habits. You stop letting circumstances decide and start defining your future. A disciplined person masters time. They don't let days slip away meaninglessly. They master emotion, refusing to let fear or laziness dictate their actions. And they master action, staying consistent with what must be done, even when no one is cheering. Remember this: discipline is the seed of freedom. It sounds paradoxical, but it's true. Only when you are disciplined with money can you be financially free. Only when you are disciplined in work can you choose your own path. Only when you are disciplined in learning can you think freely. Discipline is the price paid in advance for the freedom others only dream of. We must all suffer one of two things: the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The difference is that the pain of discipline lasts only for a moment, while the pain of regret can last a lifetime. If you think discipline is hard, try living without it. You'll find the cost far greater. No one escapes this truth. You either control your habits or your habits control you. And discipline is the tool that keeps you on the side of mastery, not victimhood. Self-discipline doesn't just help you achieve goals. It transforms who you are. Every time you conquer yourself, you reshape your identity from someone who wants to do into someone who always does. You don't just reach goals. You become powerful, resilient, and formidable. That is the greatest reward of discipline: inner transformation. No one can take that from you. External success can be lost, but the inner strength forged by discipline endures forever. And the miracle is, discipline isn't innate, it's trained. It begins with small acts: waking up 10 minutes earlier, finishing what you promised, reading a few extra pages each day. Each small act is a brick in the foundation of character. Over time, those small acts merge into an unbreakable force. Look at your life. If you feel lost, start with discipline. If you've lost faith, start with discipline. If you feel stuck, start with discipline. Because when you can master yourself, you can master the world around you. Discipline never comes with comfort, but that discomfort is the training ground of success. Learn to embrace the things you don't like until you start loving the feeling of control. Remember, successful people aren't different from you. They're just a bit more disciplined day after day. And that little bit creates the vast distance between ordinary and extraordinary. Discipline is the foundation, but it's not the entire journey. Because once you've learned to master yourself, you'll face the two greatest enemies of progress: procrastination and laziness. That will be our next journey together. In part 2, overcoming procrastination and laziness. Part 2, overcoming procrastination and laziness. Procrastination is the thief of time, and laziness is the enemy of progress. These two don't break down your door. They whisper softly, sweetly. They say, "It's okay, you can do it tomorrow." Then tomorrow becomes the next day, and the next becomes next week. And while you haven't started yet, opportunity quietly walks away. Do you know what's most dangerous about procrastination? It doesn't kill you instantly, it lets you die slowly in comfort. It lulls you to sleep with the illusion of, "I still have time," until one day you realize time is the only thing you can never get back. Procrastination doesn't just steal your actions, it steals your confidence and your self-respect. Every time you say, "I'll do it later," you teach yourself that your word can't be trusted. Every time you give in to laziness, you reinforce the habit of choosing easy over right. Easy won't make you better. Easy will only make you comfortable. The world is full of intelligent, ambitious dreamers, yet very few actually act. Not because they don't know what to do, but because they never start. Starting is always the hardest part. But once you take that first step, momentum carries you farther than you imagine. Think of pushing a heavy car. At first, it's hard, it takes every bit of strength. But once it starts moving, you just have to keep it rolling. Action works the same way. Getting started is the hardest step, but once you begin, everything becomes easier. 1. Immediate action. The only way to defeat procrastination is to act the moment the thought appears. Don't give your mind time to negotiate. Because if you let it talk long enough, it will convince you to wait until tomorrow. When an idea strikes, do something right away. Write it down. Make a call. Open the file. Get out of bed. Any small action is enough to break through the wall of hesitation. Action creates energy. You don't need to wait for inspiration to begin. It's action that generates inspiration. Motivation doesn't come before action, it comes after. Remember, you don't wait for inspiration to act. You act and inspiration will find you. 2. Break down your goals, start small. One of the main reasons we procrastinate is because our goals seem too big. We see the mountain and lose courage before taking the first step. But you don't have to climb the whole mountain today, you just have to take one step. Want to write a book? Write one page. Want to exercise? Start with 10 minutes. Want to learn a new skill? Spend 15 minutes a day. Small steps are powerful because they break the paralysis of fear. Success doesn't come from a giant leap, it comes from thousands of small, consistent steps. Don't ask, how do I finish everything? Ask, where can I start? Right now? Each completed step sends a signal to your brain, I'm moving forward. And when enough small steps accumulate, they create a massive leap. 3, find your why. Every act of procrastination comes from a weak internal reason. If your why is strong enough, you'll find a way. If it's not, you'll find an excuse. When the why gets stronger, the how gets easier. Ask yourself, why must I do this? Not because someone expects it of you, but because your life deserves more than mediocrity. If you don't do it for yourself, who will? If you don't act today, 5 years from now, you'll be in the same place, only filled with regret that you didn't start sooner. Find a why that won't let you sit still. A reason that makes you want to rise, act, and change. It could be the dream of financial freedom, the desire to provide for your family, or simply the longing to meet a stronger version of yourself. When your reason is big enough, you'll never need anyone to push you. 4. Build an environment and habits that support action. You can't defeat laziness in an environment that nurtures it. Your surroundings are the invisible hand guiding your behavior. If you're surrounded by chaos, procrastination, and negativity, they will drag you down. But if you build an environment of discipline, clarity, and energy, it will lift you up. Let your space reflect your goals. Clean your workspace. Turn off social media notifications. Place books on your desk instead of letting them collect dust on the shelf. Spend time with people who are moving forward, not those who only complain. A supportive environment doesn't just make action easier, it makes laziness uncomfortable. When action becomes a habit, you no longer have to force yourself, you act because it's who you are. 5. Every act of action is a victory for self-respect. Each time you choose action over procrastination, you prove to yourself that you are reliable. You teach your mind that when I say I'll do it, I mean it. That's how you build unshakable confidence, not through words, but through repeated action. Self-respect doesn't come from what others think of you, but from what you think of yourself when no one's watching. When you keep your promises to yourself, you feel proud. When you complete even one small task, you feel stronger. It's a series of small victories that build great character. And the best part, every small victory creates a ripple effect. You act in one area, you gain confidence, you act in another, and soon your entire life starts moving forward. One action leads to the next. One positive habit invites many more. No one escapes the temptation of procrastination or laziness, but successful people know how not to stay there for long. They may slip, but they don't let that slip define them. When they fall, they get up faster. When they lose focus, they return to their goals sooner. That's the difference between the disciplined and the merely motivated. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to start. Because each day you conquer yourself, even once, you move closer to your strongest self. Remember, some people dream of success, others wake up and work for it. Dreamers keep sleeping, achievers wake up and get to work. Overcoming procrastination and laziness is the first great victory of the mind. But to turn action into instinct, you need something deeper, habits built intentionally, repeated daily, until they become part of who you are. We'll explore that next in part 3, building habits and consistency. Part 3, building habits and consistency. Habits are like invisible threads weaving the fabric of our lives. Each repeated action, no matter how small, is a stitch that connects to the next. A few stitches may not seem to matter, but over time, they form the grand tapestry of your entire life. If your habits are positive, that tapestry will be painted with the colors of success, strength, and freedom. But if you live in negative habits, procrastination, laziness, self-doubt, your life's picture becomes dull, broken, and incomplete. The question isn't whether you have habits, but what kind you're nurturing. Every one of us has habits. The difference is that some people make habits serve them, while others unconsciously become slaves to theirs. Successful people aren't defined by innate talent. They're defined by the consistency with which they repeat the right things every single day. A habit is trained instinct discipline, put on autopilot. Once you build a positive habit, you no longer have to fight yourself. Each morning, action becomes as natural as breathing. 1. Start with awareness. See yourself clearly. Before you can change, you must recognize what needs changing. Most people live in auto mode, repeating the same behaviors, the same thoughts, the same reactions, and then wondering why life doesn't change. For things to change, you have to change. For things to get better, you have to get better. Take one day just to observe yourself. What do you do right after waking up? How do you respond under pressure? How do you spend your free time? You'll realize your current life is the mirror of your past habits. If you want a different future, you must rewrite your internal programming. The first step isn't action, it's awareness. Look honestly at the habits that are holding you back: procrastination, mindless scrolling, quitting too soon. Once you see them clearly, you can no longer unsee. And that's when change begins. 2. Small, steady change. The law of accumulation. Big change doesn't begin with a leap. It begins with a small step repeated long enough. Many people fail to form habits because they try to change everything at once. They create grand plans, then give up after a few days from exhaustion. The truth is, your brain doesn't like sudden change. It prefers things that are small, easy, and consistent. Start with something so small, you can't make an excuse not to do it. Want to read? Read 2 pages. Want to get fit? Work out for 10 minutes. Want to journal? Write 3 sentences each night? It doesn't matter where you start. What matters is that you start and keep going. These small actions are like drops of water falling steadily. One drop does nothing but thousands carve through stone. That's the compound effect. Every small action today multiplies into major results tomorrow. And conversely, every delay accumulates too, only it compounds regret instead of growth. Remember, you don't have to become a new person overnight. You just need to be 1% better than yesterday. Because 1% better every day doesn't make you 365% better in a year, it makes you 37 times better. 3. Consistency and persistence. The power of repetition. No habit can survive without consistency. Success doesn't come from doing something right once it comes from doing the right thing every day. Just like building muscle, you can't train once and stay strong forever. You have to work out consistently until it becomes part of who you are. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Consistency doesn't come from emotion, it comes from commitment. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep going. Even when you're tired, doing a little is still progress as long as you don't stop. Each day you stay on track, you strengthen the identity. This is who I am. Consistency is the bridge between effort and results. It turns scattered actions into habits, and habits into identity. Set a fixed time each day for the habit you're building. Treat it like a non-negotiable appointment. Because if you don't make time for positive habits, negative ones will fill the space. There will be days when you feel uninspired, discouraged, or stuck. But those are the days that truly test your perseverance. You're training an invisible muscle called willpower. And trust me, one day, you'll thank yourself for not quitting. 4. Habits shape identity. You become what you repeatedly do. Aristotle once said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. We become what we do repeatedly, day after day. Habits don't just change your actions, they shape your identity. Every time you act with discipline, you tell your mind, "I am a disciplined person." Every time you finish something, even small, you affirm, "I am someone who follows through." And as that belief grows stronger, it naturally guides your behavior. Conversely, every time you quit halfway, you tell yourself, "I can't." Habits, therefore, become the language of identity. You don't have to declare who you are. Your actions already speak it. A good habit is like a loyal friend. It quietly lifts you higher each day. A bad habit is like a thief. It steals your energy, your time, and your opportunities. The question isn't whether you have habits, it's who you're allowing to walk beside you. 5. The architecture of a sustainable life. Habits are the hidden architecture of all success. You can't control outcomes, but you can control your habits. You can't know exactly when success will arrive, but if you plant the right seeds daily, harvest will come. To build lasting habits, you need 3 elements: a clear why, a small start, a long-term commitment. Remember, building habits isn't about getting things done, it's about building who you are. You don't read to finish a book, you read to become a thinker. You don't exercise just to look good, you exercise to become disciplined. You don't work hard just to earn money, you work to become valuable. When you change your actions, you change your results. When you change your habits, you change your life. And when you change your identity, you change your destiny. The power of habits and consistency is the foundation of every lasting success. But this journey doesn't end with building habits, because on the road of growth, you will face challenges, setbacks, and life's inevitable tests. And how you face those tests will define who you become. Join me in part 4, Turning Challenges into Opportunities, where we'll learn how to transform pressure into power and obstacles into stepping stones toward greatness. Part 4, Turning Challenges into Opportunities. Challenges are weightlifting exercises for the spirit. If life were always easy, you would never know how strong you truly are. Like muscles, the mind only grows resilient through the weight of difficulty. Every pressure you face is an invisible gym, a place where you learn endurance, adaptability, and growth. Many see challenges as enemies, but the wise see them as teachers. Challenges don't come to stop you. They come to prepare you for a better, stronger, more deserving version of yourself, one capable of reaching the goals you pursue. Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. So instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? The first question makes you a victim. The second unleashes your power, turning you into a student of life rather than its prisoner. 1. Adaptability. The world changes every day. You can't control every event, but successful people know how to adapt faster. They don't let circumstances dictate their course. They adjust their sails when the wind shifts. Because the wind never stops blowing, only those who learn to catch it keep moving forward. Adaptability means seeing challenges from multiple perspectives. When plan A fails, the impatient complain. The adaptable create plans B, C, or even Z. There's never just one path to success. Only one type of person who doesn't quit. Challenges don't test your intelligence, they test your persistence and creativity. Sometimes, failure is just life's way of saying, this isn't the right direction yet. When you accept that everything can change, fear loses its grip. Instead of trying to control the world, you learn to control yourself, your attitude, your focus, your reaction. That's the mark of a mature mind. 2. Seeking support. No one travels far alone. Great success is never a solo journey. It's the result of connection and collaboration. Those who harness the power of teamwork, friendship, and community always find a way through the storm. Challenges often make people withdraw, thinking, I must do it all by myself. But sometimes the strongest thing you can do is ask for help. Not because you're weak, but because you're humble enough to understand that collective strength surpasses individual effort. Remember, everyone around you carries a piece of wisdom you can learn from. When you open up about your struggles, you don't just receive advice, you gain new perspectives. A single insight from someone else can completely shift how you approach a problem. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you want to overcome challenges, surround yourself with people who inspire you, who live with purpose, and who never give up. They'll lift you when you fall and remind you why you started. Every meaningful connection adds fuel to your journey. Don't hesitate to ask, to learn, to listen. The right support at the right time can be the push that launches you out of difficulty. 3. Reflection. No experience is ever wasted, only the ones we refuse to learn from. Reflection is the art of turning failure into lessons and pain into strength. After every setback, pause for a moment. Don't rush to blame yourself and don't point fingers at others. Instead, ask, what did I learn from this? What would I do differently next time? What quality is this challenge building in me? Those questions turn wounds into scars of wisdom, reminders that you've endured and evolved. People who never reflect repeat the same mistakes in different forms. But those who do become wiser with every failure, not because they feel no pain, but because they refuse to waste it. Every challenge is a test of character. It doesn't ask, are you talented? It asks, will you keep going? It doesn't ask, what do you know? It asks, what will you learn from this fall? Strong people aren't those who always win, they're those who keep learning from every loss. And that constant reflection sharpens their minds, strengthens their will, and deepens their wisdom. 4. The mindset beyond adversity. Imagine holding a piece of coal in your hand. Under pressure deep within the earth, over millions of years, it doesn't disappear, it transforms into a diamond. Pressure, therefore, isn't your enemy, it's the tool of transformation. Diamonds are formed under pressure, and so are you. Human beings reveal their greatest strength only when pushed beyond comfort. When life is easy, effort is optional. But when hardship strikes, growth becomes essential for survival. And in that exact moment, you meet your strongest self. Life doesn't promise fairness, but it always offers balance. It gives opportunities to everyone, though. Sometimes those opportunities come disguised as problems. If you're alert, you'll see that within every difficulty hides a gift, perhaps patience, resilience, or wisdom preparing you for something greater ahead. There's no easy road to anything of true value. But each time you climb a mountain, you don't just conquer the peak, you conquer yourself. 5. Turning challenges into growth. Challenges don't make you weaker, they reveal the strength you didn't know you had. When you change your perspective, you change your outcome. Instead of thinking, I'm struggling, think, I'm being trained. Instead of saying, everything is against me, say, everything is testing me to make me stronger. Rewrite the way you speak to yourself. Your inner voice is either the flame that fuels your spirit or the wind that extinguishes it. Every time you say, I can't, add one word, yet. I can't yet opens doors. I can't shuts them. And remember, no challenge lasts forever. Just as winter passes, every storm eventually ends. But what matters more is this. When the storm clears, you are no longer the same person. You're stronger, wiser, and more confident. That's why successful people are always grateful for their struggles, because those challenges forge their strength and shape their character. Life isn't measured by the days that were easy, but by how you overcame the days that were hard. Challenges are not the end, they are the key to a new beginning. Each time you rise after falling, you carve your name deeper into the story of your growth. And to sustain that strength, not just to overcome once, but to stand tall again and again, you need one final force, the mindset of continuous action and proactive control over your future. Self-discipline, overcoming procrastination, building habits, and embracing challenges, these are the 4 pillars of action, the solid foundations that support every lasting success. When you master them, you don't just control your work, you take control of your entire life. This journey isn't easy, but it's worth it. Because every moment you conquer yourself, you move one step closer to the best version of who you can be. And when you live with discipline, you no longer need to chase miracles, you become the miracle. This is not the end, but a beginning. Today isn't the conclusion of a lesson, it's the start of a new journey. A journey of action, perseverance, and continuous growth. Start today, even with something small, write down one goal, finish an unfinished task, or simply wake up 15 minutes earlier. Because the small actions you take today will create the great turning points of tomorrow. You don't have to be perfect to begin, you only need to begin to become better. Everything you need is already within you. You already have what it takes to succeed. Remember, this is only the beginning. And in the next part, we'll dive even deeper into the path of personal growth where discipline and action become your true way of life.